Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I am really excited to be here with you. Today, we're here to talk about user manuals. The plan for today is to walk you through what user manuals are, how to do your own user manual, and how to bring it to your company. So let's jump right into it. Okay. All right, so this is the first ever Not Another CEO workshop that we've done. Like I said, this is all about the user manual, how you can revolutionize how your team works together using this. First, let me give you a little bit of background on Not Another CEO. For those of you that have not heard about Not Another CEO, the goal and the mission for Not Another CEO is to bend the curve for founders and CEOs. I have taken all of the experience, my operating experience over 20 plus years, combine that with my co-founder's experience, Nick Freund, and his operating experience over 20 years. We've added on top of that the experience we've had recently over the last couple of years investing and advising dozens of companies. And even more broadly than that, the network of contributors and experts that we've brought in to Not Another CEO through our podcast, through our Substack. We've brought all of this together, all this knowledge to pay it forward, and to help the next generation of founders and CEOs bend the curve. And the feedback since we started doing this, through our content, through our community, through our events, has been amazing. And this is why we do it, right? We do it because we want to help people. We want to shorten the learning curve about how to do so many of the things that we're all faced with on a day-to-day basis. And so in a short period of time, really just in a matter of this year, so about 8 months, we've built the community to over 30,000 subscribers. We have 500 members in our WhatsApp community. And we've got hundreds of contributors across all the various channels that I mentioned before. And so one of the exercises, one of the tricks, if you will, in the playbooks is the user manual. And when you think about a user manual and you think about your team, whether it's a couple people or whether it's hundreds of people or thousands of people, we onboard our teammates to systems, to applications, to whatever the tools are. We on to our teams, we have all this onboarding that is done to the company, but we don't actually onboard people to each other. It's a really interesting thing to think about, right? Just again, take a step back and think about a team that you've joined earlier in your career. Think about the last person you just hired. Think about what the onboarding experience for that person is. I have personally onboarded, I don't know, it has to be thousands of people at this point across my career. And when I think about it, the onboarding is always, here's the company history, here's the different departments, here's our product, here's the tools you're going to use, here's what you have to click 900 times in Salesforce to open up an opportunity. Those are the things that we're teaching people. Those are the things we're onboarding people to. But we're not actually telling them these are the other people on the team. This is how they like to work. This is the way that they get motivated. So that's what the user manual is all about. It's a how to work with me guide that talks about your likes, dislikes, how you work well with others, what you respect in others, what you don't, what bothers you. It's all of that. And this actually stemmed from an event that I went to almost 10 years ago now, a CEO event. It was one of the best events I've ever been to, 200 or so CEOs in a room. And Adam Bryant got up. He's a journalist with the New York Times. He got up and talked about this concept of a user guide and said, hey, all of you CEOs, you should be writing these user guides, these user manuals. You should be writing these for your team. You should be sharing this with your team so that everyone knows how to work with you. And he actually walked us through writing our own user manual sharing it with each other. It was like one of the most amazing experiences, very therapeutic. It was really interesting just to have to do that self-reflection and then to talk to other CEOs and share with each other. But when I left that conference, this was the thing I was most excited about. I was like, this is amazing, but why is it only the CEOs that are doing these user manuals? This should be for the entire company. So I went back and actually implemented this at my company, hundreds of people. And since then, that was again almost 10 years ago, I've done this at company after company after company. And it is truly one of the most impactful things you can do from a team perspective. You know, I would say probably the number one benefit of doing user manuals, again, as long as they are done across the company, the number one benefit is it just shortens the learning curve. Again, I'm going to go back to the example I gave before. Imagine you dropped in a new salesperson into Salesforce or HubSpot or a tool like that and said, hey, go ahead and figure this out. Everyone's environment is different. Everyone's Salesforce is different. They don't know what fields need to be filled out. They don't need to know the steps that they have to take. And it's the same thing with the people on your team and the people who surround you. So the ability to shorten that learning curve makes a massive difference. But it's also a way for people to know, like when they're interacting with you, when they're managing you, when you're managing them, it's an ability for them to just know things without having to guess. And really, very rarely in the way we work do we tell each other, hey, this is how, the feedback is not, we talk a lot about feedback. A lot of people talk about how it's really important and radical transparency and all this stuff. It doesn't, that is not the case for most companies. But if you have a chance to write it down and share it, it's a lot of times a lot easier to do that. And so the way that I recommend and the way that I have helped companies do this in the past, the way that I have done this myself, is to write my own manual. And I'm putting right now my hat as CEO. This could also be, I know I was looking at the people who are attending. There's people who are not CEOs who are attending. Maybe you're a CRO. Maybe you're a head of marketing. Maybe you're a chief technology officer. It doesn't matter. You've got a team, right? The idea is you're running a team. You should write your own manual first. I think it's important for the leader to show their vulnerability and say, hey, I wrote my manual first, and I'm gonna actually share this with you, all of you, and then we're gonna set up time to go through the exercise, which I'm gonna take you through here today. We're gonna set up time for people to actually write their own manuals. And then number 3 is a very important step of the process. Once they're written, they have to go in a place where they're accessible to everyone. So let's say a Google Drive folder, or let's say a Dropbox folder, or I've actually seen some HRIS systems where people have built custom tabs that every employee can see each other's user manual in the HRIS system. Whatever it is, it has to be accessible to everyone in the same place. That's super important. Now, this is a fast exercise. Like, this is not something, there are, by the way, to be clear, there are a lot of exercises you can do, and I'm sure many of the people joining today have done. You could do those various personality tests and the very tabletop exercises for team dynamics. You can do those things. This is completely free, literally takes 15, maybe 20 minutes. And I'm telling you from experience, every time, regardless of the organization, the size of the organization, the team, the leader, it doesn't matter. Regardless, if people are really open and put their energy into this for 15 or 20 minutes, it makes a difference for literally years. Years. You assume you hope the team is going to work together for a long time. This actually makes a difference for years. So I'm going to take you through some of my own items. Like this is my own user manual. It's actually available on our Substack. If you go to notanotherceo.substack.com, you'll actually see I have a user manual up there, and you can go read it. And I actually just updated it a couple weeks ago in preparation for this. So I'm going to give you examples of the level of detail I'd like to see in these user manuals. So first, for me, email is how I do everything. I really do not like Slack, text, phone calls. It's not that I don't like them. It's that when I receive them, I miss them. I forget about them. They're not, it's hard for me. For those of you that use all those different tools, for me, email, just the way it's structured, that's my to-do list. So I tell people, including my family, if you need something from me and you want to make sure that I do it, send me an email. I will communicate via the other channels, but sometimes things do fall through the cracks, and I just don't like those for those systems. So that's an example. I like to talk through ideas live with people. I'm not very good in my own insular kind of sitting in front of a laptop and working. It's much easier for me when I'm working with a group of people in person, in front of a whiteboard, writing down stuff, and I like to talk through stuff out loud. And what I've seen as a leader, when I've run big teams, big companies, what I've seen is sometimes when I talk about it, it's hard for people to kind of stay with me, or I say things and people assume that because I'm saying it in the brainstorming, it means that I'm set on that. And so in the user manual, it's important to tell people, I like to talk through stuff, but I want people who are going to challenge me. I like people who are going to ask the clarifying questions. The people who are really going to try to nail me down while I'm going through my crazy iterations in my head. That's really important. What I love about business is I love coming up with innovative solutions to problems. And I love working with people who like that, who think that way. I used to say something that's like, I like to do things better than best practice. I like to take whatever is out there and people are talking about and tweak it a little bit and make it a little bit better. And I love working with people who think that way, who want to try things, who are not scared of the new technologies or these new approaches or things that may sound crazy, but they're willing to try that. And so that's, for me, that's how people get an extra gold star. And then in terms of the attributes that I love in people that I work with, infectious work ethic, intelligence, creative problem solving, like I said, that's what when I work with those people, I get energy from that. So I'm sharing this with you so that everyone can kind of see and understand. This is what a user manual, and this is just a part of my user manual. I'm just giving you some samples here, but the point is detail is important. Specificity is important. You can imagine if you were working with me at a company and you had this information, it would make things much easier. I'm going to give you actual real world, like I'm going to tell you real stories here about what I've seen and how this helps. So things like onboarding. When you've done this user manual for an entire team, let's pretend you're a sales team of 8 people. Maybe your company hasn't done it, just your sales team has done it, including your sales engineers, your sales manager, your sales ops person. And now a 9th person joins that team. They immediately are supposed to write their user manual, and they get access to everyone else's as soon as they write theirs. I have watched people join and on the first day spend hours just reading through everyone on their team's user manual. And the power of that, when they now meet that other colleague, their manager, whoever it may be for that first time, they already understand how is the best way to approach this person. You know, there are things that have come out in these exercises that are really just, you can't believe how much someone would open up and how much they want to open up about who they are and how they work. Communication improves. I'm going to tell you, this is a real story. I went and did this for a team of executives at a very large ad agency. And it was the top executives. I think it was about 20 people. And I asked everyone to write their user manual, and then I asked everyone who wants to share. And one person raised their hand, and they said, I hate when people are typing on their computer, on their laptop during meetings because I prepared for the meeting and they're not listening to me. And that really offends me. And another person from across the room raised their hand, and she said, I hate when people see me typing on my computer during a meeting and think that I'm not paying attention. Actually, my way of paying attention is typing notes throughout the meeting. These two people had been working together for something like 3 or 4 years, and they literally pretty much hated each other. And it was because of this dynamic. And they had just never had the conversation. One had never said, that's annoying, and the other one had never said, I'm actually just taking really detailed notes, and that's how I listen. So these are real examples. Empathy. I did one this was 2 months ago. I did this for a team. And it was the first time this had happened for me when doing this. Same thing, asked everyone to share, whoever wants to share at the end of writing their user manual. And someone raised their hand and they said, I am such an introvert. I can't even describe to you how socially kind of uncomfortable I am and how much of an introvert I am. And they way. I dress loudly. I know my appearance doesn't come across that way, but I'm actually extremely introverted. And this woman said, today, when I came into the office, another person on the team who was sitting there, you came up and said, hey, how was your weekend? She said, I was uncomfortable from that point till now, 3 hours later, I was thinking, did I respond the right way to that question? Was she questioning whether she was running through this whole thing. Everyone in the room was like, oh my God, I had no idea. I had someone who worked for me who was amazing, one of the best people on the team, but every week they would leave, a couple days a week, they would leave early to go and play soccer. And it was on their calendar, a block on the calendar, and everyone was grinding 18 hours a day, 15 hours a day, and they were leaving early twice a week. And in the user manual, it said, if I don't go play soccer twice a week, I will go crazy. I need this for my mental well-being. And as soon as everyone saw that, they're like, oh, makes sense. Makes sense. And then ultimately, performance increases. Because like I said before, when you shorten the learning curve, it's amazing how fast you start to work with each other, figuring out what triggers this person in a good way, what triggers them in a bad way, what motivates them. How can I, as a manager or as a peer, how can I get to this person's good side? How can I get them excited to work with me? It's amazing, like what happens in this, right? I had a CEO say, this was in a group of his team. He actually, I gave him credit. He said, I don't feel comfortable giving feedback live on the spot if I don't have any warning ahead of time. So he said, I have a lot of you coming into my office asking me for feedback about your performance. He was talking about his team, about performance, about this, and I'm not good at being put on the spot. If you send me an email and say later today when we talk, I would like feedback, I can give you much more detailed feedback and I'm much more comfortable in that environment. Again, another real example of how powerful this can be to make everyone understand each other, shorten the learning curve, all of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create user manuals for everyone who is on this stream or who's watching. We're going to create user manuals for everyone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the set of questions. Now, these are not a complete super set of questions, but this is a good set of questions to get started with. I'm going to show you the set of questions, and I suggest you either pull up a doc or you pull out a piece of paper and a pen, and you just start writing, and just let it flow. Let the stream of consciousness flow. It doesn't have to be that you answer every question. You could have other questions and things that you want to make sure people know about you. So I'm going to put up the questions, and then I'm going to go quiet. I'm going to turn off my camera and my microphone. I'm going to go quiet, and I'm going to put a timer for about 6 minutes, and I'm just going to let everyone write. Then I'm going to come back, and I have another set of questions. We'll do another 5-6 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up at the end. Take this time, 12, 14, 15 minutes. Take this time to really treat this as a therapeutic exercise. Write down everything that you want people to know about you, about working with you. And then you can decide, how do you take that, edit it, prepare it to be presented, to your whole team or to your whole company. But that's what we're going to do now. So with that, I'm going to go to the first set of questions. So these are questions focused on us. Okay? You can see them here. What are things, unfiltered things about you? For example, if you look at mine, one of my things is I have no hobbies. All I do is work, and I love working. So I wake up really early in the morning and I start sending emails, and that's just who I am, right? What drives you nuts? These are things you can imagine. So anyway, I'm gonna be quiet now. I'm gonna set a timer, and I will come back here in about 5-6 minutes, and then we'll do another set of questions. We have about 2 more minutes left. Okay, we are going to go now to the next set of questions. So these questions are about how we interact with others. How do we like to give feedback? How do we like to get feedback? What's the best way to communicate with you? I really like the last one here. What's the best way to convince you to do something? So, again, take a look at these and give yourselves some time to think about it, and then just write stream of consciousness for 5 minutes. Again, I'll keep a timer on and I'll come back with a 2-minute warning. This is the last set of questions. Okay, about 2 minutes left. Okay, so hopefully everyone got everything written down, or at least got started. Again, this is all being recorded, and so will be available in case you want to use it for yourself or your teams after this. So, reminder: what I do here: write your own manual, finish whatever you started today. Make sure you allocate time either in your own team meetings or at a company meeting, and have everyone do this. It's amazing when you do this with a group, in person or on Zoom or whatever. Everyone goes heads down, starts typing, starts writing, and it's actually really hard to get people to stop, because once they start going, they kind of just put it all out on the paper or the doc. Then make sure it's somewhere in some shared drive, and then to make sure that it actually gets used, you make it part of onboarding on an ongoing, from an ongoing perspective. So if you want to read more, we have a really detailed article on our Substack about the user manuals. It has all the questions there. It has a link to mine. It has a lot more detail about the value. If you want to share this maybe with someone on your team, your head of people, your CEO, you can do that here. So with that, I know that from a time perspective, I think we may have run a little bit over. So I want to say thank you to everyone for joining today. Thank you if you're watching this recorded. And I hope that this is helpful. I promise you, truly one of the most meaningful things you can do from a team perspective is to put together these user manuals, to make sure they're accessible, to make sure you make it part of onboarding, to make sure you keep them updated. It will make a massive difference, and is really an easy exercise, as you can see today, 30 minutes, and you can get this done. So thank you so much, and I hope you subscribe to Not Another CEO and enjoy the content that we're putting out there. And if you have any feedback or comments, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.